Hello, and welcome to the Some Kind of Mystic podcast, the show that bridges all things mystical with the chaotic and unpredictable experience of being authentically human. I'm your host, Jessie Herman, life coach, energy healer, artist, mother, and channel for the non-physical entity group Vagrein. In other words, I'm some kind of mystic, and so are you. I'm so excited to welcome to the show today's guest, Sharon Smith. Sharon has been helping people release pain since 2005. She's an intuitive energy healer, psychic, medium, and clairvoyant who sees angels. Sharon's calling is to raise human consciousness on the planet, and she does that by helping people let go of physical and emotional pain. She has clients in countries all over the world, and her very popular YouTube channel with over 10,000 subscribers, A Pain Plan with Sharon Smith, has tons of viewers, tons of content, and I absolutely suggest you head over there right after this to take advantage of her amazing gifts. In this episode, we talk about EFT tapping and releasing emotional blocks that could possibly be the cause of your pain. Sharon also guides us through an EFT tapping so you can see how it works. Please welcome to the Some Kind of Mystic podcast, Sharon Smith. Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. I'm super excited. I also did obviously my prep work this morning, and that got me even more jazzed up to meet you. And I'm so excited to have you on the show. I'm so excited also that weirdly on the same day that we had each other on the radar was the day we connected. Like the first time I saw you, the first time I guess, probably you'd been on the on my YouTube for a couple days or something like that. But it was like, boom, okay, we got to do something together. So
well,
I'm
and
excited.
yeah, you were leaving me that comment saying my team is reaching out to you, and I hadn't even been an email yet. It was early in the morning.
I know, because she hadn't reached out to you yet. That's so
Yeah,
weird.
not really. I have a lot of things that work out that way.
Of
So
course,
yeah,
yeah.
I actually saw you on Mike Dooley. That's where I first,
Okay, yeah.
I know who you were.
Oh, well, welcome to the show. It's like you wrote back in your form, like it's going to be a casual conversation. That's exactly what it is. And I'm excited that you want to do tapping so we can actually do that as well. Because
Absolutely.
I love tapping. I mean, I don't do too many videos, but it's one of my main tools. I've got a little bit of breath work, a little bit of tapping, and that's how I deal with everything on my end.
Actually, could we do something really quick before you and I start to say really important things? And all of you who are listening and watching this, do this with us. I'll tell you why. Take a big breath in through your nose, hold it, and blow it out through your nose. And do one more of those. You're going to hear us so much better. One more in. Good. And out. Okay. Humans are breathing at about 20% of their capacity, which means you're only properly oxygenating your primitive brain where the fight or flight response is. Your brain's designed to keep you safe in your body. That's its primary function. And if you're only breathing a little bit, it's really hard to get control of your emotional state because you're always in that fight or flight thing. Taking even 2 or 3 deep breaths, all of a sudden, you've properly oxygenated some different areas of your brain where you're going, oh, maybe this isn't that bad. Maybe I can work this out. So that's what we're doing.
Brilliant.
Hello, good morning.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, and good afternoon, good now to whoever's listening, wherever they are. So yeah, let's jump in. Okay, so I've introduced you just a little bit, very, right before we jumped on this call, but I want to hear from you. What was your journey to becoming an intuitive healer, your ability to work with angels? How did you become mystical, or were you born like this? What's your story for coming towards this type of work?
Well, yes, I was born with a lot of ability, a lot of psychic ability. I inherited that from my father. It was not a good experience for him. And it was not fun for me as a kid because you want to fit in when you're a kid. You don't want to be weird or different. So I largely just kept my mouth shut. And finally, and I had no intention of doing this work. Absolutely not. I didn't want to do it at all. But I started having lower back and hip pain chronically in my teens and, tried everything. Then in my 20s, I added in migraine pain and I did everything, all the things, chiropractic and naturopathic treatment and all the stuff. And a lot of things, most things actually did help, but it didn't last.
Right.
And fast forward, I finally woke up in 2002, just literally woke up. It was the big wake up and say, okay, I surrender. I'll do whatever it is you want me to do. Just tell me, just show me. And, most people think this big spiritual awakening is, oh, and for me, it was more like, oh God, this is going to suck.
That's exactly the same as I have. We have such similar stories. Okay.
So I started looking I thought, okay, I had really hurt my back doing nothing. I was young, healthy, had a regular yoga practice. There was no reason for this to be happening. And I made myself a promise. During that week, I laid there on muscle relaxants and painkillers. And a doctor friend had come to the house and said, oh, well, it'll be okay. Just lay here and take these pills. And you've just got a bad back. And I remember thinking, no, I don't. No, I don't. So I made myself a promise that I was going to find out what was really causing it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, as it is for almost all of us, it was emotional stuff. And God, I didn't want it to be that. Yuck.
Having to dig through it to solve your physical problems. It's the last thing you
Yeah.
want to do. Yeah.
Well, but that is what pain is. And that was my big aha, because I was looking and I'd known about tapping. That is only one of the modalities I use.
Mm-hmm.
Tapping, I'd known about it for several years, and I thought, yeah, that's kind of interesting, but I don't know what you'd ever do with it. It's like, okay, whatever. And then one morning I went to have a massage. It was a good friend of mine, and she met me at the door. She said, oh my God, you have to see this list. I'm like, okay. And it was in a book called Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die by Carol Truman. And I highly recommend the book. And it is a list in the back of this book of over 200 illnesses and ailments, and there are probable underlying emotional causes.
Wow.
The minute I saw that, she said, well, I don't know what you do with it. And the minute I saw that, I received this huge influx, download of information. I knew immediately that was what to say when you're tapping. I knew that pain wasn't here to hurt us. It's here to be a guide and here to help us.
Yeah.
To get us to let go of these emotional things that we're holding on to that we're not even aware of. So, and I started working with it that same day.
Wonderful.
Never
So you said something in there. You said, that's what pain is. Can you define pain as you understand it now for us? Because your work, your website, your YouTube is a pain plan, which is, I love the title because it gives people hope, gives people direction, it gives people an idea of where to go with this. Okay, I know I have the pain, but often, like when you do go to a regular doctor, they're not really giving you, hey, listen, this is the strategy and the route out of this or away from this or to a, again, I believe like you do that pain is a messenger, right? So, we're not running away from the pain, we're actually going towards it, meeting it, engaging with it. But what would your definition of pain be or your understanding of it at this point?
Pain is the symptom. It is the physical manifestation, the physical symptom of the underlying problem. And when people come to me, I can give you a really clear example. I had a guy, I have his permission to talk about this.
Sure.
A number of years ago, came to me, he was maybe mid-40s with terrible knee pain. And I said, okay, the big two questions, when did it start? And he said, 2 years ago. And what was happening in your life then? And he said, well, my wife left me for another man. I said, okay, great. Now I know that I'm looking at a relationship pattern. We followed that back a bit and talked a few more minutes. And this was just in a discovery call. And all of a sudden he said, I hurt that same knee in a high school football game. I'll bet that's what caused it, right? I'm like, no, I don't think so. What was happening in your life then? What was going on at school and at home? And it took him all of 10 seconds. He said, well, my best friend stole my girlfriend and we were never friends again. So do you see the pattern? We followed that back to a series of things that happened with one of his parents. It was not abuse in any way, shape, or form that caused him to feel abandoned as a child. And this was a DNA pattern that parent had carried, that he was also carrying. But children's brains take in information in a different way. And that becomes, even though it's unpleasant, a part of your, bizarrely enough, your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you will recreate abandonment in your
Mm.
relationships
Right.
as you grow up. And the knee pain was the physical symptom of him, in him, to go back and work with all of these patterns. It's very easy to get the knee pain to go away, but you're going to have things come back if you don't clear out the old emotional stuff.
Right. Yeah. So that's a great example of how things will manifest ongoingly. Like my experience with health has been I had autoimmune disease is now completely cleared, but it's very clear that as I went through my spiritual process and my emotional process and clearing out what didn't serve me, it literally coincided with that manifestation no longer being necessary, right? So that had, it's a 24-year long story, medical story. I mean, at one point I got rid of all the paperwork. I said, what am I keeping all this for? This is not the story anymore. There's no sense in keeping test results from 10 years ago. So, and that was one of the milestones of me letting go, but it also meant letting go of all the stuff that led up to me having that manifestation in the first place. And, homeopathy never worked and acupuncture never worked and all the things, they all worked. Changing diet worked, but like you said, temporarily. So it was
Yeah.
really the inner work and the figuring out the feelings. And in my case, it was autoimmune self-hatred or not feeling worthy or not feeling good enough. I don't know if those feelings are directly related to some of those types of diseases, but from my
Oh,
experience with other people, they
also,
are.
also for those of you who are listening who have autoimmune, despair and hopelessness
Mm-hmm.
contribute to that. Yes,
Wow.
self-hatred can be part of it, but when you have had so much despair for so long, usually as a child,
Right. Yeah.
eventually you become hopeless because you feel like you can't ever let it go.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
that's where a modality like tapping,
Mhm.
EFT, comes in. You can very quickly shift your emotional state.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I have been using EFT for a while, but I'd like to hear you talk on it. Can you explain how you had found EFT? How did you come across it? Because you'd heard about it and you tried it on yourself. You came to it from your
Yeah.
own catalyst, basically.
Yeah, Joe Mercola used to send out a paper newsletter in the mail, and that's where I first heard about it.
Wow.
Um, and I remember looking at it, and then I went to Gary Craig's website and looked at the basic recipe, and I thought it was interesting, but as I said, I didn't see any practical application for
Hmm.
it, and until I did.
Right.
And so when you come in, when you've got these physical things happening, I want people to understand that is a map. And I have videos up on YouTube to help you with, for instance, knee pain. That's in addition to that pattern that this guy had. That is usually the big thing that pops up is not liking being bossed around.
Right.
Now, no one enjoys it, but if it really, really makes you mad, that's one of the places it will classically turn up is in your knees.
Hmm.
Certain organs accumulate specific emotions. Lungs are grief and sadness. The liver is anger. Bitterness is gallbladder. Kidneys and bladder are fear.
Hmm.
So, and I'm not making this stuff up. There are zillions of books written about this.
Yes, absolutely.
Louise Hayes, wonderful book. You Can Heal Your Body, lists of symptoms, physical things, and she gives you some reframes and tells you a little bit about what's going on under them.
That's right. The affirmations that she shares.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
can you explain for our listeners? I don't think I've had someone who's a specialist in tapping on the show yet. Can you just explain what it is for someone who this concept is completely new to and
Yeah.
why it helps to release the emotions?
Yes. And my explanation, I will just warn you, is completely different than anyone else's out there
Brilliant.
because
Okay.
I am looking at it in a completely different way.
Hmm.
We are electrical in nature. We are physically electrical. And this charge runs through our bodies in large part along the acupuncture meridians. And if, we know we're electrical. If you've ever had an EKG, you know they're measuring the electrical output of your heart.
Hmm.
Electroencephalogram is electrical brain activity. They use that to determine whether or not you're dead sometimes. So it's used in classic Western medicine as a diagnostic tool all the time.
Hmm.
So when we're tapping and it looks a little Yeah, it looks a little weird. We're tapping on electrical meridian endpoints, acupuncture meridian endpoints. And we are actually physically able to access our own electrical system. Now, I think the diagrams of the meridians have been around for I don't know how long. I think that's a schematic of our physical wiring.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing we're doing when we're tapping, so we're accessing our electrical field, we're electromagnetic. Thoughts are the electrical field. The magnetic portion of this is emotional. That's the magnet, that's the
Okay.
pull.
Right.
So we're speaking out loud. And there's some people out there who are teaching this who say, yeah, you can just tap. You can calm yourself a little bit, but if you aren't talking out loud, you're probably not going to get a good result.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I can't, and I've worked with it for a long time. So you're talking out loud. You're directly addressing your own subconscious because you understand the sound of your own voice. So when you're identifying a problem out here, saying what the problem is, I've got this pain, this thing going on. And then when you start tapping, you're going to tap through the points and identify it. Look at what was going on in your life then. I'm really pissed off at my mother. I'm really angry about this. And I might have some anger stuck in my knee. And just tapping, tapping through the points.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can begin to let it go. This allows your brain to process the information in a completely different way than just sitting in therapy and saying, I'm really mad at my mom.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
This actually moves it and you can let it go. You have to, you get to decide what you want. So you say, I can choose to let this go now. Holding on to this anger. Let's just do anger. I like doing that. Are you up for a little?
Yes, I am up for, I love to do tapping. I love it, love it, love it. So I am definitely up for it. I would just ask though that for the listeners who don't have visuals, would you be able, I know it's annoying, to tell them which
Yes.
point they're tapping on?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Just
All
remind
right.
me and just wave at me if I stop doing it because I don't do that. I
Of
just
course. I know it's
yeah.
so it's so much of an
I,
addition.
I almost never work in straight audio. So okay,
Okay.
so we're going to tap on the outside fleshy portion of your hand first. Either hand, either side. There's no way to do this wrong. And I want you to tune in to any place where you might be angry. And if you don't have physical pain, that's fine. Most everybody can get in touch with a little anger about something.
Mm-hmm.
And just hold that in your mind for a few moments. We won't stay there long. And give it a number between 1 and 10, with 10 being rage and 1 being none. Where are you today, Jessie?
For me, I'd say 6.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm not that bothered by much right now, but yeah, the
Well,
issue, this particular issue is a 6.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about what it is?
Oh, it's something so like so menial. I had some garden work done on my garden, and Italy is a very bureaucratic country. And the garden work was done, I believe, in June. It's now November, and they are waiting for someone to come and test the soil to make sure it's done right. And so they haven't taken off the fence. No one's worked on it for all the summer. We lost the garden for the whole summer, and like I've got this ugly fence outside. So it's really not,
Right.
but it's very
Okay.
much an annoyance.
Okay. All right. So everybody do this with this side of the hand. I'm really annoyed.
I'm really annoyed.
I'm angry about this.
I'm angry about this.
And it's been going on for months.
It's been going on for months.
But I choose to be okay anyway.
But I choose to be okay anyway.
Because I am.
Because I am.
I'm really angry about this.
I'm really angry about this.
It's a lot of bureaucracy.
It's a lot of bureaucracy.
But I completely love and accept myself.
But I completely love and accept myself.
And I'm open to letting go of this now.
And I'm open to letting go of this now.
Top of the head. No, I'm really not.
No, I'm not.
I don't want to let go of it.
I don't want to let go of it.
Okay, eyebrow point where it starts, either side, right at the beginning of your eyebrow. I wonder if it's possible.
I wonder if it's possible
that I have given a lot of power.
That I've given a lot of power.
To these people that I'm mad at.
To these people that I'm mad at.
Now, beside the eye on the bone. that I'm not real happy with,
that I'm not really happy with.
they're getting to decide how I feel
They get to decide how I feel.
underneath your eye on the bone. I've allowed a bunch of bureaucrats
I've allowed a bunch of bureaucrats
to decide how I feel right now today
to decide how I feel right now today.
underneath your nose. They can't even get my garden right.
They can't even get my garden right.
Why would I let them be in charge of how I feel?
Why would I let them be in charge of how I feel?
Because, and underneath your lower lip, sorry. Because I allow myself to remember
I allow myself to remember
that I am a powerful eternal being.
that I'm a powerful eternal being.
Now take your whole hand and across your collarbones. For me, there is no such thing as death.
For me, there's no such thing as death.
So why am I allowing this anger to rule me?
So why am I allowing this anger to rule me?
It's silly.
It's silly.
Let's go back to the top of the head. I'm not going to do an underarm point today.
Okay.
I give myself permission to let this go.
I give myself permission to let this go.
Eyebrow. They don't even care if I'm mad at them.
They don't even care if I'm mad at them.
It only hurts me
It only hurts me
to hold on to this anger
to hold on to this anger.
out beside the eye on the bone. It's just like me drinking some poison
It's just like me drinking some poison
and hoping it's going to make them sick.
and hoping it's going to make them sick.
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
Underneath your eye. Holding on to this anger only hurts me.
Holding on to this anger only hurts me.
Underneath your nose. I choose to love myself enough to let it go now.
I choose to love myself enough to let it go now.
Underneath your lip. I didn't mean to hurt myself.
I didn't mean to hurt myself.
I let it go now.
I'll let it go now.
Collarbones. I completely love and accept myself.
I completely love and accept myself.
Okay, now hold your wrist points. And this is just top and bottom of the wrist. It's actually pericardium 6, I think. And take a big breath and blow it out and say peace.
Peace.
Okay. Now everybody check in and see where your number is now. Jessie, where are you now?
Like a 2 or a 3, probably more like a 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was about 90 seconds of tapping.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the thing is, humans are designed to experience the full range of emotions, everything, all of them, anger and fear and joy and love and all of it. But what we're not designed to do is to hold on to the so-called negative ones for prolonged periods of time. Fear, anger, grief, sadness, when we do that, it begins to cause us to malfunction, resulting in things like anxiety, depression, physical pain, illness, dis-ease, if you will. So you want to use the tools, things like tapping, to move those emotions out. Get them out of your field, out of your electrical system.
What I've also noticed with tapping is that you get the opportunity to feel the feelings because you're actually paying them attention. So yes, when you're setting up your session with yourself, you say, okay, how angry am I feeling? You check in and you go, okay, there is that. Because, before you asked me the question, it really wasn't in my field, the irritation I have. But that's, like something that's been sort of simmering. It's not important. It's not something I've been focusing on. I've been going about my day. But every time I go to open my front door and see the stupid fence, like it's an accumulation of that energy of, like what you said, allowing something external to me to determine how I'm going to feel about something, whereas I could easily just let it go and have these tools to work on this. And, I forget to use the tools. I think a lot of people who listen do forget to use the tools that they know about. They forget to dedicate the time to, even if there's something slightly annoying or slightly that made them disappointed, because those subtle emotions are valid too, like you don't need to be in complete depression or mourning before you tap on your issues. You could also be, disappointed you didn't get, the invitation to the party you wanted to go to or whatever it is, So that's really beautiful reminder for everyone as well. Um, as someone who works with others, so I know you also work with angels. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know our listeners are
Yeah.
excited to hear about that as well.
Yeah. I read a book a number of years ago called Angels in My Hair by Lorna Byrne.
Hmm.
And she was born with disability, also very, very severe dyslexia. She was unable to actually ever learn to really read or write because of it. Um, and my takeaway from that book, I mean, I was already able to see dead people and animals and a lot of things like that. It wasn't anything odd for me. And my takeaway from the book was, oh yeah, I think I want to do that.
Hmm.
And so I used some energy tools and started asking for that in some very specific ways. And it didn't take very long and it worked.
Okay. I know
And
you have a course on that,
I
don't you?
it, well, I think calling it a course is a bit
A
of a
teaching.
big description. It's not teaching, it's a doing.
Okay.
It's the only thing of its kind in the world, and it's called the Angel Program. And it's exactly in September of, well, it's been a couple of years ago. I was just in bed asleep one morning and they woke me up and said, "Get up. We want you to recreate that work that you did and put it in video so that other people can do it."
Wow.
And and I talk about this in video before you ever come into that program. And I got up and I thought, okay, it's kind of interesting. It was dark. I hadn't had any coffee. There was a whole bunch of them here. And I said, okay, I'm not sure what if it, my big concern was, what if it doesn't work? And they said, okay, well, here's the trick. When you make a public video for anything to help people, do you expect that it will work for 100% of the people who do that? And I said, no, I know that it will not. It'll work for a lot of them. And they said, yeah. And this is the same way. Your job is to create this work and put it in video and get it out there. Let us worry about the rest of it. And so I did. I sat down and created the Angel Program that day. It's out there. It's $27. It's the way they're the ones who had a very specific reason for that pricing, and I do
Sure.
talk
Yeah.
about it in video on that page. It's interesting.
Mm.
Um, we've got more emails about that one little bitty. I mean, I have other stuff that's out there that's super. I have a new program, a relatively new program that will fix
Yes,
tinnitus
I
for
wanted to
people.
talk to you about that too, because last
But
year
the
I had,
angel, yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
But the angel thing, it's out there. Go check it out. I gave Jessie the link to that,
Yes,
so
yes,
you
I'll put it in
guys
the
can
show
go check it
notes
out.
and
Look at that.
everyone can check that out. And it's funny because whereas I've a bit like you could see dead people or interact with dead people and aliens, angels is not something that ever came into my field. I never had any connection with the angelic realm, which is really fascinating. So I'm gonna have a
Yeah,
look
and
at that.
I do a series. I've done a whole series of YouTube videos where I talk about angels,
Hmm.
and one of them is, how do they really look? And of course, this is how I see them.
Yeah,
I
sure.
can only tell you that. Others may see something different, but the fancy paintings of people with human beings with wings, they don't look that way.
Okay.
Occasionally they will, but I see them in, they're sometimes they're big. First of all, they're really big,
Mm-hmm.
like 10 to 15 feet tall. And sometimes they're a column of light.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So
and
would you be
yeah,
able to like when you're working with someone see if they have like a lot of people come and they're like, who are my guides? Do I have a guardian angel and stuff like that? Do you have that ability?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now around you, yes, absolutely. And that's a part when people come to work privately with me, if they want to meet their guides, that is a part of the program. It's an optional thing. Sometimes people's guides are there saying, will you just tell her? Yeah, it's like, okay, let's introduce you and you can tell her yourself.
Yes.
I would much rather do that because they're there for you.
Yeah.
They're beings that were created for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I look at you, I don't see anything other than Vagrein.
Mm-hmm.
they're a large presence. And I think that's probably, it's not that you don't have others around you, but because you are engaged in such close work with them,
Yeah.
I think yeah, I can even, it's almost like I feel it as a pressure
Mm-hmm.
here in the front of my head because they're right there.
Yeah, that feels very accurate also because I have had like experiences in my past where there are other even nameable, guides. I would have conversations with them, especially my teens through or harder periods in my life. And it's as if those beings are, sort of a step back from the main show of what's been going on recently and are still present, but not necessarily in direct relation. So
Yeah.
that's great.
Everybody comes, e- everybody has at least one angel with them, their guardian angel.
Hmm.
Everybody.
Okay.
Everybody comes equipped with at least one angel. Most everyone I see now has many.
Yeah.
You also come equipped with at least two guides, and they may appear to be human in form, or they may appear to be animals or
Right.
something else.
Sure.
Um,
Absolutely.
Never know what you're going to see there, but these are beings who are here to help you. They're created for you. Now, angels, this is something else I do want to say on here. Angels have not ever been human.
Hmm.
The best I can tell, they are a separate species is the wrong term,
Yeah.
but for lack of a better word, they are a separate species designed to be of service and to help humans
Hmm.
in our awakening process
Okay.
because we are here to create. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you did mention earlier that you had some resistance to opening up to this whole thing, okay? And I understand that that's the case for most beings that I've spoken to that are on sort of like this, have psychic abilities or this path or have been on journeys such as yours and mine. What are some of the misconceptions that you consistently hear about psychic abilities or that you yourself had before you allowed yourself to open up that caused, that resistance? And how do you resolve that in yourself or help others to understand that? What would you like to say to someone who has some of these misconceptions?
Oh, some of the big questions that people ask me about their loved ones, pets and animal, their pets or the humans who have left their bodies, left physical, is there's grief, there's longing, there's sadness, you're missing them. Can they still hear me? Can they still see me? Do they still love me? Are
Mhm.
they okay? And the answer to all of those things is yeah. Yes, yes. Once they leave their body, the instant they begin that journey out of physical, they're fine. They're not old anymore. They're not sick anymore. They don't hurt. And there are a zillion books written about this, people who've had NDEs and come back to talk about it. You're fine once you leave your body. And they tell me about this. So they are non-local. Once you're not in physical, yes, they're still with you. They're also having a fabulous experience elsewhere. They are everywhere. They have rejoined the great all that is
Mhm.
consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's the best way I can describe it. But yes, you will feel them with you. You may have vivid dreams when you're in a relaxed brain state, when you're asleep. They can get to you. That they can't really sit on your sofa with a big sign that says, "Hey, I'm good." You know? So they do their best. You may start finding coins on the everywhere.
Yeah.
There may be electrical disturbances in your house, your lights coming on and off. I mean, I talked about a cool one of those in one of my videos about death.
Mhm.
So yes, they are still with you and they love you more than words can express.
Right. So that's something we
You
can look
you are
forward to as
loved
well.
beyond words.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. And do you ever have trouble like managing the energies? A lot of people who are fledgling coming into their psychic abilities are worried, oh, what if I get taken over by a negative entity? What if I encounter something that's not benevolent? What if I have this experience? How do I protect myself? How do I create a shield over myself? Or, they're even, even people who aren't in sort of the experience of having non-physical relations are often looking for ways to protect their energy from other people as well. So what can
Yeah.
you say to this whole concept of protecting oneself?
Well, I think we need to, I want us to stop doing that. I want us to stop needing protection from each other.
Right.
There's really only one of us,
Hmm.
only one of us. We are connected in ways that we don't even begin to understand. We
Right.
find new connections every day. And what I help people do privately and in videos is to be so solid in their connection and in their grounding and in themselves that you don't, and so aware of whether or not the emotions you're feeling are yours or somebody else's.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because we all humans have empathic ability.
Yeah.
All of us. Some of us are born with a lot of it and some with a smaller amount. It's like being able to play the piano.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So a lot of times, if you have a lot of that ability and it starts in childhood, maybe your parents are arguing and you'll take on some of that anger and frustration to try and calm that down. And it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't work that way, but you've taken that on and you don't have any way to let go of it.
Right. Sure.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
I like people to get in touch with, okay, is this you feeling this or is this somebody else in this room feeling it?
Hmm.
Once you get clear about whether it's your stuff, I mean, our emotions are plenty enough to work with. For God's sake, let's stop taking on everybody else's stuff.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, that's a big thing. You can get into overload really easily because of this empathic ability if it's not properly managed. Now, I will tell you, it can, yes, I did have a time when it became seeing people the dead people.
Hmm.
When that started, the very first time, I didn't even know what it was.
Sure.
It was just this interesting experience. I thought, okay, that's weird. I told my neighbor about it over coffee. And she said that, and I said, I was awake. She's, wow, okay, that's interesting. And then a series of things happened, and all of a sudden, you know, the tap was open
Sure. Yeah.
and I was seeing and hearing them all the time.
Yeah.
And it was cool and interesting for a few days, but I couldn't work. I
No.
couldn't sleep. They wouldn't shut up.
Yes.
And I know that was really, really awful. And I know there are people out there wandering around talking to themselves and pushing shopping carts because they have that happening and they don't know what to do about
That's
it.
right. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
And if any of you are listening and are having that experience, get quiet, speak very clearly to them, and define when you are open to listening to them.
Yeah.
Make them take a number. Really, it's like, okay, I knew some of you in life and you have manners. What the hell happened? It's like, yeah, but they're excited. They're
Yes.
excited when
To find
someone,
someone that they can connect with.
yes, very
Absolutely. Yeah.
much so. And, they would show up and say things like, oh, tell Aunt Judy I love her. It's like, no, I'm not doing,
Like,
that's
you go
not,
tell them. You
yeah,
go tell
find
her. She's got
find
lights in her
somebody else.
house.
Yeah, it's like, find somebody else. That's not my calling. I'm here to raise human consciousness
Yeah.
on the planet.
Who's still here, not a messenger, right?
Yeah. And the way I do that is by helping people release physical and emotional pain. I'm
Beautiful.
not doing
Yeah.
the reading thing. Is like, that can be a part of the work.
Sure.
Yeah. Does
I totally get that. I totally get that. But it's not something for someone to worry about who's having, the beginning of those experiences. I always say it's about setting boundaries. I had a haunting. I had an actual, poltergeist style haunting in one of my houses in England. And I made a deal. I made a deal with whatever this was, with the banging in the night and the peering in mirrors and all the whole God knows what. It was quite, for as much as you're like, okay, I know what this is. This is just energy. This is just energy. It can scare the hell out of you at night. You're going to the bathroom
yeah.
and you don't want to get out of bed, and because you don't want to be startled, right? We are still physical beings that have this energy. So every time I was gonna get up at night, I was like, listen, our deal is you do not jump out of the corners, do not appear in the shadows. Like, we're cool, we're all good, we're friends, you can be here, there's no issues, but do not appear in the middle of the night while I'm going to the bathroom. Like, just don't do it. And that was sort of the agreement. There were all kinds of other weird things going on, but they were all manageable because they weren't startling. They were unusual. They were creepy maybe at times, but they weren't startling, and that was my only concern. So that was the boundary I set with this, and it's
Mhm.
respected. And it's the same thing
Yeah,
with any interaction with um, what I perceive of as the non-physical. It is a question of saying, I am a sovereign being, I have free will to be able to decide what does or does not go in my
that's
intention.
right.
Yeah.
Discernment is very important, and boundaries.
Yeah.
And I see people out there doing a lot of work with energies, and it's like kids playing with matches because they
Yeah.
aren't paying attention. They don't have any level of discernment, and they're going, "Oh, everything is just light." Well, yes and no.
Yeah. Right.
You could be inviting, and a lot of it has to do with what you're focusing on and expecting. If
Hmm.
you're expecting dark energy to come and take you over, then yeah, guess
That's what
what?
you're
That's
inviting. Absolutely.
that's what you're inviting. And if you're one of those, do not go and buy the angel program.
Okay. Right.
Just don't.
Yeah. It has to be
Because
something that comes from a place
what
of
you're
already knowing.
what you're focusing on is what you are drawing toward you, no
Absolutely.
matter what that is, good, bad, or indifferent.
So what we're saying is the major form of protection would be to watch yourself, watch what your expectations are, watch what your intentions are, and watch what your fears are. If you have fears, maybe tap on those first and let them go. Let go of the
Yes.
fear of being attacked or possessed or taken over before you begin working with energy. And that seems to be great advice to me.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and what you do where you're a trance channel, I'm fascinated by that
hmm,
and also horrified by it. Now,
okay.
less so as I've gotten older, because but I've been a fan of Esther Hicks for a lot of years and seen her in person several times. And it's like, oh yeah, and she's going to not remember a word that she said. No, no, absolutely no way am I doing that.
Right. And I totally understand that. And to tell you the truth, when I'm like logically thinking about it, your perspective makes complete sense to me. I still to now don't know how I'm so chill about that. Like I don't know how I'm so chill. I also don't know how it works. I don't know how the listening happens and then that erasing of the memory like it's interesting that it doesn't bother
You're-
me.
they're not erasing.
Not erasing, but it's a non-recording.
It's a different they're coming in and accessing a different area of
Mhm.
your brain, and the part of your brain that is memory simply does not hear
Yes, it
that.
doesn't record the session.
Not
I
registered.
do recall
It's
some
not
other
registering.
things. I recall some other stuff. Like I'll have sometimes what I call visual impressions. I'll see things. They'll be describing something and they'll like what'll get recorded will be like what my creative brain has done with that information, but the information itself is not there. So if they're talking about a river, I might get visions of a river. I might get really elaborate, you know, visuals when they're talking about fractals or like the universe or infinity. I get all these amazing scenes, but I don't know what they're talking about until I listen back to the recording. So it's super
It's interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
I had questions. Can I
Yes.
ask them real quick?
Yeah, I
And
just
you
want to
don't
I want to ask you first about the
yeah.
tinnitus because
Oh,
last
yes,
year I
yes.
had, and I don't think it was tinnitus, but I had I think 4 months of blocked ears that no doctor could get to the
Oh,
root of.
yeah.
And they were so puffy blocked, like I couldn't hear anything. And this was right after, and I think I do know it was definitely emotional, right? It was right after I'd had breast cancer and I had a mastectomy, and all the doctors kept telling me that I should be doing something, and my inner self was telling me that I should be doing something else. So I went with my inner self. But in that period, I was so irritated with these doctors, so disappointed, so let down because at the end of the day, it wasn't their choice. It was my choice. And this was
Mhm.
all about reconstruction. So it wasn't even something medical. They were like, get reconstruction, get reconstruction. You have to get reconstruction. You'll be unhappy if you don't get reconstruction. And I was like, leave me the F alone. Leave me alone. And then bam, I couldn't hear anything.
You
Like it was
stopped listening
gone.
because you didn't want to.
I didn't
You
want
just
to hear it.
shut it off. Jesse, how brilliant of you to shut it the hell
Yeah,
off.
because
You
it
made it
was
quit.
caused it was well, I was allowing it to cause me distress, right? Like,
Yeah, but you put a stop to it in the
yeah.
only way your subconscious went, okay, we're on this.
Exactly.
We'll fix this for you, sweet pea.
Right.
And it did. And so you stopped listening and stopped hearing what these people were saying because it wasn't agreeing with you.
Right, exactly,
It's
exactly.
brilliant.
It is brilliant. And I think the body's always our best ally. That's just really, we have a team member that if we learned how to cooperate with it, we'd be
Mhm.
like, I've got this. So tinnitus, is that something along the same lines?
Well, yeah, it is and it isn't. It is not wanting to hear, not wanting to listen, and usually it's connected to not wanting to hear your higher self, listen to
Okay.
higher laws. That can be a lot of what it is,
Mm-hmm.
but there are a lot of things that get stuck in there. And I have been interested in that for a number of years, and
Mm-hmm.
actually even ran a little Facebook group where I was kind of collecting information and working with it with these, I don't know, 20 or 30 people that were in there
Wow.
to see what worked and what didn't. Because there are Facebook groups. There's one in there called uh, Tinnitus Success Stories. And for those of you who live other places, it's tinnitus. Both pronunciations, I think, are correct. Let's stop worrying about how to say it and worry about more how we can resolve it.
That's
I'm
for
more
sure.
interested in that. Uh, yeah, you would be surprised. People are really hung up on that. But I lost my train of thought
The
there.
Facebook group.
Yeah, and it's tinnitus success stories, and they're
Nice.
not. Oh my God, I happened in there, and these people are being driven mad by this noise
Yeah.
in their ears. That's a brain thing. I mean, it's not done by your ears.
Right. Yeah.
And I played with this on and off for a lot of years. I have some good public videos up on YouTube for tinnitus, and some people it doesn't do anything for. Some people comment that this is the first thing that's made any difference in 30 years
Brilliant.
for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it really varies. But I realized here a few months ago, I've been thinking about creating a program for that, creating some work that people could buy that would really get into the core of it much more so than I can do in a bunch of public YouTube videos. And so one morning I woke up and went, oh, I had been in meditation, and it's like, oh, okay, here's what to do. And it's 5 videos. You do
Brilliant.
one each day. The longest one I think is about 22 minutes, and the short one is about 12 minutes. So it's not a huge time commitment. You do one a day, and then see how you do with it. You may need to repeat them.
Sure.
And our initial numbers are amazing.
I can imagine because I when I was experiencing that, what do you call, like, cotton ears, or I don't know, like that, just that wearing
Yeah,
headphones permanently, when you do search for solutions for that, because it's
yeah.
probably like, oh, there was something in my throat, there's something in my ear. You're searching. Tinnitus is the first thing
Uh,
that comes up.
or it's
And
the little hairs in my ears. I'm sure it's that. Well, but go
if
to
you
the
just pull
source.
your ear like this, and then like
Yeah,
this, and then like this, and then put your finger here and gargle with.
yeah.
So, even though it wasn't something that was chronic for me, it was annoying. Um, I had tried everything already in the period that I had this experience. And I know that people suffer from this for years, and they really
Oh,
are
yeah.
suffering from it.
It is suffering on a grand scale.
Yeah.
And so go in, buy this program. It is for sale. We've still got the introductory price up on this. This program comes with my guarantee,
Mhm.
100% money back for 30 days. If
Okay.
this does not do what you want it to do, all you have to do is email us. It's simple. There's no catch. You
Brilliant.
don't even have to say why you don't like it. You
Yep.
can even not like the sound of my voice, and we will refund your money.
Brilliant.
100%, 30
Well,
days.
anyone who's
So
having challenges with that can't be beat, that offer.
yeah, and if you're listening to this or watching this and you have it, go try that. I'm sure you know someone who has this.
Right. Or if
Eh,
you're suffering from
Yeah,
chronic pain, then you can help them in those ways too, by finding the root and working. You do work one-on-one, correct?
I do. I do.
Okay.
It requires a conversation first, because
Absolutely.
you can't just point and click anywhere to book an hour with me. I don't work by the hour. I haven't in years.
Okay.
And I take about 8 private clients at a time or fewer, no more than that.
Okay.
And we got to have a conversation because I don't know what you need
Right.
until we talk. And I'm going to ask a lot of questions, and we're going to talk about a lot of things. Then I
Brilliant.
get an idea of what it is you really have going on and whether or not I can help you. And the answer is usually yes. Occasionally, if it's somebody, if I don't feel like I can really help you on that call, I'm going to tell you so.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you some other resources, maybe point you in another direction. I did that actually day before yesterday with a nice man. I was not seeing the patterns
Okay.
for the things with him. It doesn't happen often, but it maybe one a year.
For sure.
So yeah,
That makes
I
sense.
gave him some other resources, but it all starts with a free conversation.
Wonderful. So before I answer whatever questions you have for me, I have one more question for you. What does the word mystic mean to you?
Hmm. I think it's what we all are. I think it's the best description of what we really are and where we're headed.
Mm,
Um, and those of us who are quote unquote mystical are the ones that are talking openly about it,
I totally agree.
like you. Yeah. So
I
I
totally
would encourage everyone out there, you're all having experiences. I know you are. I see you and I hear you. Talk about this stuff. It's not weird. Let's normalize this
Yeah,
so that our ability becomes what it's meant to be. We are
absolutely.
here to create.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. So you said you wanted
Oh,
to ask me some stuff. Let's flip the
I
script here.
do. I do. I do. Well, they're Vagrein questions, but you don't need to channel it because I expect you've been asked these or asked them
Ah,
yourself.
potentially. Yeah.
And got some I've got some listening time with Vagrein under my belt here.
Brilliant.
In in one of these, they said that you were able to do this because of certain things that had happened through your life, but also because of a particular genetic configuration.
Hmm.
And my question is, what percentage of the people on the planet today living in physical have this appropriate genetic configuration?
So you're right. They have answered this and also recently, but I don't know. Like my instinct would be to say 10%, but I can't remember what they said. And I don't think it was as low as 10%. I think it was much, much higher than that.
Okay.
So, but you know, it's the same way there are people who are genetically predisposed to be able to run fast, right? So we all have the
Sure.
ability to run, and then there are people who put in the right circumstance, having the right parents who pick up on the fact that they have this ability and give them to the right coach and they're living in the right part of the country and they're blah 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 blah, will have the ability to train to become an Olympic athlete, or
Yes.
naturally be. And then there will be other people who have this ability in them that remains latent, and or they don't even like running, but they're able to run very fast. So I
Yes.
think it's
And
a lot
both of those
higher.
people, all those people improve with practice.
Right.
Okay. The other part
Absolutely.
of the question was, is this particular configuration hereditary?
Yeah.
Okay.
And hereditary is an interesting word because we have hereditary energetics as well as hereditary genetics.
Hmm.
So you are both passed down energetic, like DNA, as you are physical DNA. So there's like this
Absolutely.
whole bigger picture that we on our scientific level haven't quite understood yet. And your parents, for as much as they are your physical contribution to your creation, there's also the energetic contribution from every being,
Yes.
individuation that ever has had soul contract with you. So you are the sum of the total of the parts of everything that your life is, was, and will be in this now. So it all gets a little nonlinear at some points. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And when I'm looking at someone that way, yes, contractual things come up.
Yeah.
Not for small things usually, but I'm going to see the big soul contracts
Hmm.
that you have going on and why you're having them.
Right. Yeah.
And a soul contract, very just my definition of it quickly is that you incarnate, and we do repeatedly. I mean, just take it. Too many people have talked about it and remember it. uh, Before you're in this physical experience, you decide what you want to work with in this
Yes.
lifetime
Hmm.
for your greatest experience,
Hmm.
for learning and for fun.
Yep.
for fun, it's supposed to be fun.
Absolutely
And
fun.
a part of that soul group that you tend to incarnate with repeatedly will step forward and say, yes, I love you enough to do this for you. And a lot of the contractual relationships are really unpleasant.
Yep, yep. Some of them are
They're
like,
the people that are,
someone's gotta
yeah,
take on the part of the script that's the villain, right?
that's right.
And that generally is on a soul level one of the closest people to you. The person you hate the most,
Yes.
sorry guys, is probably your soulmate.
Well,
Because
but
that
they're
is what
saying
will
to you,
stimulate
yeah,
you the most. Yeah.
that's right. And they're saying, I will do this because you ask me to,
Hmm.
and I love you enough to do this for you,
Yeah.
not to you,
No,
for you, for your
exactly.
growth. And when we're not in those bodies anymore, God, we're going to have a big laugh about this. It's going to be really weird.
That's true. It's true.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
but that is how you work with a contract
Yeah.
because they are out there.
Yeah. Well, and then like on another level, like Vagrein always says, like you have a contract with any being that you have the chance of interacting with, like that you've, and they always use this supermarket tech, teller, right? The person at the checkout. There's a soul contract there as well. You are influencing each other's experience, yes, on a minimal level, but you are influencing each
Yeah.
other's experience every day because the day that you smile, that person's experience is different than the day that you say, oh, the change is wrong or whatever, and we are constantly playing with each other and influencing each other and bouncing off each other because we are really all one, and like you were saying, we have incarnated in the past. My understanding is that we are simultaneously everyone we know. We just don't remember, like I don't remember that I'm
Right.
also you. And when we have resonance with someone, and we deep feeling, and you and I contacted each other on the same day, that's that slight recognition of, oh hey, this is just another version of me. If I was
Yeah.
her, I'd be exactly as she is, and it just adds to that beauty of knowing that we get to be here together as one. It's
Yes.
so nice, so nice.
Yeah. We get to be doing this together and having these experiences and appreciating them and, use modalities. I talk to people about the big three: meditate every day, at least 20 minutes, 2 10-minute sittings or 20 minutes total. Meditation is the way of connecting with all that is. You've got to relax your mind. All the answers to everything you're wandering around looking for is already in us.
Yeah.
We are complete already. We're a holographic depiction of everything. So meditation gives you access to that. Breathe, obviously. Uh, journaling. There are programs out there who help people get out of pain and resolve big things just by journaling.
Yeah. Mhm.
Meditation is Joe Dispenza. I mean, that's his thing. That's all he teaches. He's very good at it. He's transforming it. So meditate, journal 15 minutes a day, tap, move the emotion, move the emotions out of your body, change your emotional state.
Yeah.
Don't hang on to the stuff that pulls you down. I've even got videos out there for tapping to have a great day
Yeah. Yeah.
and tapping with affirmations. So use these tools every day. And you do these three things every day for about 90 days, your life will look very different than it does today. I
Absolutely.
promise. It's a huge amount of change.
Tell us out loud where people can find you.
Oh, well, my YouTube channel is the most fun, and it is A Pain Plan with Sharon Smith. You can even Google loves me. I'm not sure why I'm little, but you can literally type in Google a search and type in Sharon Smith, my name, and lower back pain. And all my stuff for lower back is going to pop up because they like me. They're benevolent, they're an
Wonderful.
energy. And YouTube loves me. But my YouTube channel is A Pain Plan. And also my website is apainplan.com. And I do have quite a few resources on my website. But as I said, my YouTube channel is more fun. And
Okay.
I've passed 500,000 views there, which is
Beautiful.
500,000. I'm so excited about that. 500,000 people came in and gave me the opportunity to help them and trusted me and did a little bit of this work with me. And it's like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing in the world.
It is so cool. That is so cool. And congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you.
yeah, I'm going to put all of your links in the show notes so anyone can just scroll down to underneath the
Yes, the
YouTube video or in the
tinnitus program, the links there, Angel program, it's
excellent.
all there. It's all there, but it's on my website and the links to all that stuff are below. I think we've got them below every single video on YouTube now.
Okay,
So it
brilliant.
make it easy to find. I think it's
Absolutely.
all there.
That's a good plan too. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and for being here. And I truly appreciate you and wish you ongoing success in helping so many people to get out of their pain and to learn more about themselves.
Yeah, you too. This interaction has been a blast.
Yes.
And I look forward to the next one because I know that you and I are not done.
No. Great. Thank
And
you.
to everybody who's taken an hour of your time to listen to us or watch us, oh, thank you so much. And we both, all of us, everybody here, and there's a bunch of us, we all look forward to seeing you again soon. So much love.
Absolutely. So much love. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Some Kind of Mystic podcast. If you're hearing this message, you've listened all the way to the end of this episode, and for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's people just like you that keep me motivated to bring you more and more enlightened content to the world. I'd like to invite you to consider joining my mailing list, even if you're already following me on YouTube or Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, anywhere else that we're publishing content. This is because once you're on my mailing list, I'm sure that I don't have to depend on an external service in order to keep in touch with you. I have to admit that I don't send out a newsletter that frequently, but when I do, it's to let you know about special events or coupons, new podcast episodes, courses and workshops I'm creating, opportunities to meet in person, like at the summer retreat that I'm currently organizing here in Italy, or even just to share some new Vagrein coaching or healing content. I do send out 2 free chapters of my book, Vagrein Seeking Ends When Sharing Begins, whenever someone signs up for the newsletter, so maybe that's some more incentive for you. And I'd love to see you on my list so that we can keep in touch no matter what.
I moved to South Florida a little over 2 years ago, and gosh, I have a whole bunch of friends here now, and they love costume parties.
Ooh.
I know. It's one of my least favorite things, but I'm kind of getting into it. That's a lot of fun.
What's the last thing you dressed up as?
The last thing I went anywhere as was I went as Good Queen Sharon because I was behind the curve with this, and I happened to have a crown in my closet and some things to do that with. I didn't get very creative with it. I'll do better next time.
So what's your next costume idea?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it yet.
Mm.
Some of them are, I don't record, for Christ's sake, you got to get this out. But I went as a tampon one time to a party in college. Just so you know, my sense of humor is fully intact.
I love it. Thanks so much. Brilliant. And I will ask if I can share that.